when the very first Christians started to follow Jesus and the church began, Acts chapter 2, 42 to 47, it says this, everyone was filled with awe. They were enjoying the favor of all people, and the Lord added to their number daily those who were being saved. Now, I've said this before, but church should be a fun place to come to. I believe that. That's why we're going to have fun today. We have jumpers, we have food, we have all that stuff planned for you. Church should be a fun place. And you know what? The people sitting next to you should be fun. Have you ever met a Christian that looked like they were sucking on a lemon for quite a long time? They got that sour look in their face. If you're a believer, you should have fun. Does that mean everything in the world is great? No, it doesn't mean that. But you know that you can have joy in God working in your life. And the Bible says that the early church was like that, where people were enjoying one another, where people were loving on one another. And the Bible says that everybody around them was attracted to that. That's the kind of church we want this church to be. But when God visits you, He might come at a time when life seems really short. He might come through the person sitting next to you. I want to give you another way He might come. You might see Him. And it's this. When I experience a personal crisis, you are most likely to see God when you are experiencing a personal crisis. Now in Isaiah chapter 5, if you still have your Bible, it's not up here on the screen, but I just want to share with you what's going on in Isaiah's life right before he sees God. The Bible says that he was going around town and he was casting judgments on people. And he was saying, woe to you, and I want you to get this. He says this, woe to those who rise early in the morning to run after their drink, who stay up late at night till they are inflamed with wine. He says, woe to those people. He goes on and he says this, woe to those who draw sin along with cords of deceit and wickedness as with cart ropes. To those who say, let God hurry, let Him hasten His work so we may see it. He goes on to say this in verse 20. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil. In verse 21, woe to those who are wise in their own eyes, who are clever in their own sight. In verse 22 and 23, he says this, woe to those who are heroes at drinking wine. A lot of people get excited about drinking. Isn't that true? You ever met somebody like that? Oh, I could outdrink you. I could drink more than you. And Isaiah's going around, woe to that person. Isaiah wasn't too popular, but he told people the way it was. He says, woe to you who acquit the guilty for a bribe, but deny justice to the innocent. Now, I want you to notice this. Isaiah is going around doing all this, and God shows up. And this is what he says in verse 5. He says this, woe to me. Isaiah's going around thinking pretty good of himself. He's like, woe to you, woe to you, woe to you, right? He's highlighting the people's sins of the day. And then he sees God and he says, woe to me. And he says this, I am ruined, for I am a man of unclean lips. He realizes that he's been very hypocritical with people in his life. He realizes that he doesn't talk the way that God would have him talk to people around him. And he says, and I live among people of unclean lips, and my eyes have seen the King, the Lord Almighty. I want you to notice this. He comes to a point in his life where he experiences a personal crisis. He didn't know how bad off he really was until God showed up. And then he says, woe is me. And some of you today might be thinking, there's a lot of things wrong in my life, Pastor. I struggle in this area. I struggle with my tongue like Isaiah, the way I talk to people, the things that I say. I struggle with my thought life. I struggle in this area. And yet the Bible says that God desires to reveal Himself to you so you can know who He is. And I want you to get this. He doesn't just want to reveal Himself to you. He wants to make you the person that He created you to be. The person He's always planned you to be. I want you to notice this. In verse 6 through 7, it says this, then one of the seraphs flew to me with a live coal in his hand, this hot coal in his hand, which he had taken with tongs from the altar. With it he touched my mouth and said, see, This has touched your lips. Your guilt is